The cashier sighed. Not loud enough to be rude, but loud enough for everyone behind me to hear it. I stood there holding my debit card like it was supposed to explain itself. The screen blinked red again. Declined. Do you want to try another card? The cashier asked, her voice flat, her eyes already moving past me to the next customer. I didn't have another card. Behind me, someone shifted their weight. A man in a baseball cap muttered something to the woman next to him. I caught the edge of it, something about knowing your limits and wasting everyone's time. My face burned. Not from anger, from something worse. Shame I didn't deserve, but couldn't shake. I'd used this card 2 days ago. No problem. I'd checked the balance that morning. There was money. I knew there was money. Ma'am? The cashier's tone sharpened, like I was the confused one. I opened my mouth to explain, but what was I supposed to say? That I wasn't senile. That I knew how to manage my own account. That would only make it worse. Then, a hand reached past my shoulder. A man, maybe mid-50s, dressed in a work jacket, nothing fancy, held out his card to the cashier. He didn't look at me. Didn't smile. Didn't perform some grand gesture for the people watching. He just paid. The machine beeped. Approved. The cashier bagged my groceries without a word. The line moved. The man stepped back. I tried to thank him, but my voice came out small. He nodded once, grabbed his own items, and walked toward the exit. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt smaller. I followed him out, my hand shaking as I loaded the bags into my car. He was parked a few spaces down, already putting his things in the trunk. I walked over. I don't know what happened with my card, but I'll pay you back. If you give me your number, I can. You don't owe me anything. His voice was quiet, serious. Then he looked at me. Really looked at me. When you get to your street, he said, don't go inside right away. I blinked. What? Just sit in your car for a minute. Look at your house before you go in. A woman walking past glanced over, curious. I forced a smile, the kind you use when you want people to think everything's normal. I appreciate the help, I said, but I'm fine. Really? He didn't argue. Just nodded again and got in his car. I told myself it was nothing. Paranoia. Maybe pity. Maybe he thought I was the kind of old woman who leaves the stove on or forgets to lock doors. But the whole drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Don't go inside right away. Why would he say that? I pulled onto my street just before noon. The neighborhood was quiet. My house sat at the end of the block, pale blue with white trim, the same as it had been for 30 years. Everything looked normal, except the porch light. It was on. I never left it on during the day. Never. I turned it off every morning after my coffee. The same way I locked the side door and checked the thermostat. Routine. Predictable. Mine. I sat in the driveway. Engine still running, staring at that light. Maybe I forgot this time. Maybe I really was getting confused. But then my phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. Recent password change attempt detected. If this wasn't you, please contact us immediately. I hadn't tried to change my password. My hands went cold. I opened the Ring app on my phone, the one my son installed last year just in case. The camera pointed at the front door. I tapped the live feed. For a second, nothing. Just the porch, the door, the light I never left on. Then, through the window next to the door, I saw movement. Someone was inside my house. I didn't scream. I didn't call 911. I just sat there, staring at my phone screen like it might rewind and show me something different. The movement was brief, a shadow passing through the living room. Then nothing. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just the curtain shifting from the AC vent. Except I'd turned the AC off before I left. I remembered doing it. I remembered because I'd stood at the thermostat thinking about the electric bill, about how everything costs more than it used to, about how I needed to be careful. I backed out of the driveway. Slowly. like someone who just realized she forgot something at the store. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. I drove 3 blocks and pulled into the CVS parking lot. Found a spot under a light even though it was the middle of the day. Kept the doors locked. Then I opened my banking app. I'd checked it this morning. Balance was fine. Nothing strange. But now I wasn't looking at the balance. I was looking at the transaction history. There, small withdrawals. $10 here, 20 there, 50 last Tuesday. All from the branch on Maple Street, the one near the grocery store where my card had just been declined. I never went to that branch. I used the ATM at my usual location or paid with my card. I hadn't made a cash withdrawal in weeks. But someone had. Someone who knew my PIN. Someone who knew I wouldn't notice right away because the amounts were small. Because people expect women my age not to notice things. I scrolled further back. More withdrawals. Going back almost 3 months? My chest felt tight. I opened my voicemail. There was one I'd ignored yesterday. I'd been carrying groceries in, distracted, and I'd swiped it away without listening. I played it now. It was my daughter-in-law Stephanie. Her voice bright and breezy, the way it always was when she wanted something. "Hey Mom, just calling to check in. Don't worry about that card thing. Okay." I talked to the bank. They said it's just a hold from some automatic payment. Should clear up in a day or 2. You don't need to go down there or anything. Just ... Don't stress about it. Love you. Bye. I'll hold. From an automatic payment I didn't authorize, that she somehow knew about before I did. I played the message again. Listened to the part where she said don't go down there. Why wouldn't she want me to go to the bank? I thought about the times she'd offered to help with bills. "You have so much on your plate, Mom. Let me handle the insurance stuff." Or when she'd asked for my debit card to pick up my prescriptions. "You don't need to drive all the way out there. I'm going anyway." I'd thought she was being kind. I'd thought I was being a burden. I opened my email and searched for anything from the bank. There were 3 messages I didn't remember seeing, all marked as read. One was about a request to add an authorized user to my checking account. I never added anyone, but someone had tried. The request was pending, waiting for in-person verification with valid ID. My throat went dry. I looked up at the CVS, at the people walking in and out with their mundane problems. Prescriptions, shampoo, candy bars, normal things. I wanted to be having a normal day. But instead I was sitting in a parking lot, realizing that someone had been stealing from me in pieces small enough that I wouldn't notice. That someone had tried to put their name on my account. That someone had gone into my house while I was out. And that someone had called to make sure I didn't ask questions. The man at the grocery store hadn't been paranoid. He'd been right. But how did he know? I sat in that parking lot for 20 minutes. Phone in my lap, trying to make sense of what I was looking at. The withdrawals were always on Thursdays. Always between 10 and 11 in the morning. Always at the Maple Street branch. Thursdays were when Stephanie came over. She'd started visiting after my husband died. Every Thursday, like clockwork. She'd bring coffee, sit with me, ask how I was doing. Sometimes she'd help with laundry or run the vacuum. She said I shouldn't be alone so much. I'd thought it was sweet. Now I scrolled back through my calendar app, matching dates. Every Thursday withdrawal lined up with the day she'd been at my house. My hands felt numb. I opened my text messages, found the thread with her name. Most of it was normal. Reminders about doctor's appointments. Photos of my grandson. But then I saw one from 6 weeks ago that I didn't remember. "Thanks for letting me borrow your card, Mom. Picked up your meds and grabbed a few things for the house. You're all set." I never let her borrow my card, but I couldn't prove that. If I said something, she'd tell me I forgot. She'd use that soft, patient voice. The one people use with children or dogs. The one that makes you feel crazy for asking. I kept scrolling. Another text. This one from 2 months ago. Got that automatic payment set up for you, like we talked about? One less thing for you to worry about. What automatic payment? I checked my bank app again. Went to the section for recurring charges. There it was. A monthly debit, $50, listed as Home Services LLC. I'd never heard of it. I clicked for more details. The company had a billing address in the next town over. No phone number, no website, just a routing number connected to an account I didn't recognize. $50 a month. For the past 4 months. $200, just ... gone. And I hadn't noticed. Because $50 doesn't feel like much when you're used to managing a mortgage and utilities and groceries. Because I trusted the person who set it up. Because I'd been taught my whole life to be grateful when people help. Even when the help is designed to hollow you out from the inside. My phone buzzed again. Another text. From Stephanie. Hey Mom, just checking, did you make it home okay? Want me to swing by later? She wanted to know if I was home. Which meant she didn't know I wasn't. Which meant whoever was inside my house wasn't her. My stomach dropped. I called my son, Brian. He answered on the third ring, distracted. I could hear the TV in the background. Mom, what's up? Is Stephanie home? Yeah. Why? Can you put her on? There was a pause. She's in the shower. Is something wrong? I almost told him. Alma said your wife has been stealing from me and someone's in my house right now. But I didn't. Because I could already hear how it would sound. Mom, you're confused? Stephanie would never. Are you sure you're remembering this right? No, I said. Nothing's wrong. I'll call back later. I hung up before he could ask anything else. If Stephanie was at home, then who was in my house? And how did they get in? I thought about the spare key I kept under the planter by the side door. The one I'd told Stephanie about last year in case of emergencies. The same door I always locked. Except this morning, had I? I closed my eyes and tried to remember. I'd left through the front. I'd checked the thermostat. I'd grabbed my purse. But the side door? I couldn't remember. That's what they counted on. The little gaps in memory? The things you do on autopilot? The moments where you second-guess yourself. It's easier to take from someone when they're already doubting their own mind. I looked back at my phone. At the live feed from the Ring camera. The porch was empty now. No movement in the window, but the light was still on. And I realized something that made my chest go tight. Whoever had been inside knew I wasn't home. They'd been waiting for me to leave. Maybe they'd been watching. And the man at the grocery store had known I was in danger before I did. Which meant this wasn't random. Someone had been planning this for a long time. The bank branch was cool and too bright. The kind of lighting that makes everyone look tired. I walked up to the counter and asked to speak with someone about my account. The woman behind the desk, young, barely 30, with a name tag that said, Jessica, smiled at me the way you smile at someone's grandmother. Of course. What seems to be the issue? I need to review recent transactions. There are withdrawals I didn't make. Her smile flickered. Okay, let me pull up your account. Can I see your ID? I handed it over. Watched her type. Watched her eyes scan the screen. I'm showing several withdrawals over the past few months. All made in person at our Maple Street location. She looked up. Are you sure you didn't make these? Sometimes we forget. I didn't make them. She hesitated. Well, they were made with your card and PIN, so I didn't authorize them. The smile was gone now. She looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, I understand. But if someone had your card and PIN, that would mean... do you think someone close to you might have? Yes. The word hung there. Jessica glanced at the people in line behind me. Lowered her voice. Okay, let me get my manager. She disappeared into a back office. I stood there, feeling every eye in the building on me. The old woman who can't keep track of her own money. The old woman causing a scene. When the manager came out, he wasn't what I expected. mid-30s, quiet. He didn't smile at me like I was confused. He looked at me like I was a person with a problem. Mrs. Brennan? I'm Aaron Campos. Why don't we talk in my office? I followed him past the teller stations, into a small room with a desk and 2 chairs. He closed the door. Tell me what's going on. So I did. I told him about the withdrawals, about the automatic payment I never set up, about the request to add an authorized user, about my daughter-in-law's voicemail telling me not to come to the bank. He listened without interrupting, took notes. Then he pulled up my account on his computer. Okay, he said slowly. I'm seeing the pattern. Same day of the week, same time window, same branch. He clicked through a few more screens. And here's something interesting. Every withdrawal was made within 30 minutes of an ATM access at your home zip code. What does that mean? It means someone checked your balance right before coming here to pull cash. They wanted to make sure they weren't taking too much at once. My stomach turned. That's deliberate, he said. That's not someone who found your card. That's someone who knows your routine. He kept scrolling. Stopped. Frowned. There's something else. Internal notes on your account. Do you remember speaking with anyone here about memory concerns? No. He turned the screen toward me. 3 months ago, a note was added by one of our tellers. It says, customer appeared confused about recent transactions. Daughter-in-law present? Explained she helps manage finances due to client's age. The words blurred. I never said I was confused. I believe you. He turned the screen back. But this note, it's a setup. If you'd come in to report fraud, this would have been used to dismiss your claim. They'd say you authorized everything and forgot. Can you remove it? I can flag it for review. But Mrs. Brennan, this is more than a banking issue. This is financial exploitation. You need to document everything and talk to a lawyer. I don't even know where to start. He pulled a business card from his desk drawer, wrote something on the back. This is an attorney who specializes in elder law. She's good. Tell her I sent you. I took the card. My hands were steadier now. What about the authorized user request? I asked. It's still pending. It needs your signature and ID verification in person. Without that, it won't go through. So they haven't gotten access yet. Not full access. But Mrs. Brennan? He leaned forward. Whoever's doing this knows the system. They're moving slowly because they don't want to trigger alerts. That means they're planning something bigger. Like what? Like transferring your accounts, changing beneficiaries, maybe even putting your house in someone else's name. He paused. Do you have a will? Power of attorney documents? I nodded. Where do you keep them? At home? In my desk? His expression darkened. You said someone was in your house this morning. The room felt smaller. I need to call the police, I said. You do? But first, let me freeze any pending changes on this account. And I'm putting a note that only you in person with Ida can make modifications. No one else, not even family. He typed for a moment, then looked at me. Mrs. Brennan, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Do you feel safe going home? I thought about the porch light, the shadow in my living room, the spare key under the planter. I don't know, I said. And for the first time all day, I felt something other than shame. I felt angry. I didn't go straight home. I sat in the bank parking lot and called the attorney Aaron had recommended. A woman answered calm, professional and when I explained what was happening, she didn't make me repeat myself, didn't ask if I was sure. She just said, "Can you come in today?" I was there in 20 minutes. Her office was small but tidy, bookshelves lined with legal volumes, a desk covered in case files. She stood when I walked in late 40s, gray streaking through dark hair, handshake firm. I'm Diana Ortiz. Sit. Tell me everything. So I did. Again. The withdrawals. The note at the bank. The text messages. The person in my house? She took notes in shorthand, stopping me occasionally to clarify dates. When I finished, she set down her pen. This is textbook financial abuse, she said. Slow escalation. Small amounts. Undermining your credibility. And now they're accelerating. Why now? Because they think they're close? Whatever they're planning, they believe you won't notice in time. Or that no one will believe you if you do. She pulled a file from her drawer. I need you to sign a retainer agreement. Then I'm going to make some calls police, adult protective services, and I'm going to request a forensic review of your accounts. How long will that take? The review, a few weeks? But I can get a temporary freeze on any major transactions by tomorrow morning. And I can file for an emergency protective order if you're in immediate danger. I don't know if I am. Someone was in your house this morning without your permission? That's immediate danger. I signed the papers. My signature looked shaky. One more thing, Diana said. Do you have somewhere you can stay tonight? A friend? A hotel? I'm not leaving my house. She didn't argue, just nodded. Then we're calling the police. Right now. The officer who came to my house was younger than my son. He walked through every room with me, checking windows, closets, under beds. Everything looked normal, except it didn't. My desk drawer in the study was open. Just a crack. I always closed it. Inside, my file folder, the one with insurance papers, my will. The deed to the house was slightly out of order. The will had been on top. Now, it was underneath the insurance documents. Someone had gone through it. Anything missing? The officer asked. I don't think so. But I couldn't be sure. Because that was the point. Take just enough. Move just enough. Make me doubt what I knew. The officer checked the side door. No signs of forced entry. You said you keep a spare key outside. Under the planter. We went out together. He lifted it. The key was gone. My breath caught. When's the last time you saw it? He asked. I don't know. Months, maybe. He wrote something in his notepad. Ma'am, I'm going to be honest. Without forced entry, without proof someone was here, this is hard to pursue criminally. But I'll file a report, and I recommend you change your locks tonight. I will. After he left, I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. I wanted to call Brian. Wanted to hear my son tell me everything would be okay. But I knew what would happen. He'd tell Stephanie. And Stephanie would come over, concerned, performative, asking all the right questions. And I'd be right back where I started. So instead, I called a locksmith. He came within the hour. Changed the front door, the side door, the deadbolts. Gave me 3 keys and told me not to hide any outside. People always think they're being clever with the fake rock or the planter, he said. But if you told someone where it is, that's not hidden anymore. That's just giving them access. After he left, I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. That's when I saw it. An envelope. Tucked under the fruit bowl, corner barely visible. My name was on the front. Handwritten. Not my handwriting. I pulled it out. Opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. A photocopy of a notarized document. My signature at the bottom. Dated 2 weeks ago. It was a quitclaim deed. Transferring ownership of my house to Stephanie Brennan. My hands went numb. I'd never signed this. But there was my signature. My name. A notary stamp. And a note clipped to it, in Stephanie's handwriting. For your records. Don't worry about the details. This just protects the house in case anything happens. Love you. I sat there, staring at that paper, and realized something. They weren't stealing from me anymore. They were erasing me, and they'd almost finished. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with every document I owned spread out in front of me. Insurance policies, bank statements, the deed, my will, and that photocopy of the quitclaim deed I never signed. At 6 in the morning, I called Diana Ortiz. She answered on the second ring. I need to see you, now. Her office opened at 8. I was there at 7:30, waiting in my car with the envelope on my lap. When she arrived, she took one look at my face and unlocked the door without a word. Inside, I handed her the document. She read it, once, then again. Then she looked up. Where did you find this? In my kitchen, under the fruit bowl. They left it for you to find. Why would they do that? Because they think it's done. They think you'll see this, get upset, maybe call your son, and he'll calm you down. Tell you it's for your own good. That Stephanie's just trying to help. Can they do this? Can they just ... take my house? Diana set the paper down carefully. If this were a legitimate quitclaim deed, yes, it would transfer ownership. But here's the thing, this is a copy, not the original. Which means they're either waiting to file it, or they want you to think it's already filed when it's not. How do I find out? I'll check with the county recorder's office this morning. But Mrs. Brennan, even if it's not filed yet, this document exists. Which means someone notarized it. Someone witnessed your signature. But I didn't sign it. I believe you. But proving forgery takes time. We'll need a handwriting expert. Possibly an investigation into the notary. She paused. In the meantime, we need to protect what's yours. I'm filing an emergency injunction today to prevent any property transfers. And I'm recommending you get a certified copy of your real deed from the county and keep it somewhere safe. Not your house. Where? Bank, safety deposit box. My office. Anywhere they can't access. I felt like I was disappearing. Like my whole life was becoming something I had to prove. There's something else, Diana said. The receptionist at the notary office, if we can figure out which one was used. They'll have a record, a logbook. It'll show who was there, what ID was presented, what was notarized. If your name's in that book and you weren't there, that's fraud. That's criminal. So we can stop them. We can try. But Mrs. Brennan, you need to understand something. People like this don't stop when they get caught. They double down. They'll say you're confused. They'll say you signed it and forgot. They'll weaponize your age. I thought about Jessica at the bank, the way she'd smiled. Sometimes we forget. Let them try, I said. Diana looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, then here's what we do. You go home. You act normal. You don't confront anyone. If Stephanie calls, you're polite. If she asks if you found anything, you say no. You want me to lie? I want you to buy us time. Because if they think you know, they'll move faster. They'll file that deed. They'll empty your accounts. They'll do whatever they were planning to do before you can stop them. My chest felt tight. How long? A few days. Maybe a week. I need to get the injunction in place, verify the deed status, and pull records from your bank. After that, we move. And if something happens before then you call 911. And you call me. She walked me to the door, handed me her card with her cell number written on the back. One more thing, she said. Do you have anyone you trust? Someone who can check on you? I thought about my son, my neighbors, the people at church I hadn't seen in months. No, I said. Then stay visible. Go to the grocery store. Go to the library. Be seen. If something happens to you, I want witnesses who can say you were fine. It wasn't until I got back to my car that I realized what she meant. She thought they might hurt me. And I realized I'd been thinking the same thing. I drove to the county recorder's office myself, stood in line for 40 minutes, filled out the request form for a certified copy of my deed. The clerk handed it to me in a sealed envelope. This is the official record, dated when you purchased the property. No changes on file, no quitclaim deeds, nothing recorded. If someone tries to file one, you'll get a notice by mail. What if I don't get the notice? She looked at me over her glasses. Ma'am, it's public record. If someone files a fraudulent deed, You can challenge it, but you need to be paying attention. I drove to Diana's office and left the deed with her receptionist. Then I went home. The house was exactly as I'd left it. Locked, quiet, empty. I made tea, sat at the table, waited. At 3 o'clock, my phone rang. Stephanie. I stared at her name on the screen for 4 rings before I answered. Hi, sweetheart. Hey, Mom. Just checking in? You doing okay? Her voice was light, normal, like nothing had happened. I'm fine. Good. I was thinking I'd come by tomorrow, bring you some dinner. Sound good? That would be nice. Perfect. Love you. Love you too. I hung up, and I realized something that made my hand shake. She was coming to see if I'd found the envelope. She was coming to see if I knew. Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, I made coffee. Set out 2 mugs. Put cookies on a plate like I always did when Stephanie visited. Everything normal, except the new locks on the doors. And the fact that I knew exactly what she was. At 10:15, I heard her car in the driveway. I took a breath, smoothed my shirt, opened the door before she could knock. Hey, Mom. She smiled, holding a casserole dish. Brought you some lasagna? Figured you could freeze half? That's sweet. Come in. She stepped inside, and I watched her eyes move through the room. Quick? Scanning? Looking for the envelope? Coffee? I asked. Sure. We sat at the kitchen table, the fruit bowl between us. No envelope underneath. She sipped her coffee. So, how've you been? I tried calling yesterday, but you didn't answer. I was out. Errands. Oh, where'd you go? The question was casual. Too casual. Bank, post office, grocery store. Her hand tightened around the mug. Just slightly. Bank. Everything okay? Fine. Just checking on some automatic payments. She set the mug down. Mom, you know I can help with that stuff. You don't need to go down there. I know. But I wanted to. Silence. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned. Everything all right? I asked. Yeah, just work stuff. She stood. Actually, I should get going. Brian's expecting me home. Already? Yeah, sorry. But the lasagna's in the fridge. Just heated at 350 for 30 minutes. She grabbed her purse, kissed my cheek, left. I watched through the window as she sat in her car for a full minute before starting the engine. She was texting someone. That afternoon, I got an email notification from Social Security. Account access request received. Verify your identity to complete address change. I clicked the link. Someone had requested to change my mailing address to a P.O. box in the next town. The same town where Home Services LLC was registered. I called Diana immediately. They're trying to reroute my mail. When? The request came in an hour ago. I heard her typing. Okay. Do not verify that request. I'm calling Social Security Fraud Division right now. This is escalation, Mrs. Brennan. They're cutting off your access to information. What happens if they succeed? All your benefit statements, tax documents, anything from federal agencies, it goes to that P.O. box. You stop getting notices. You stop knowing what's happening in your own name. My stomach dropped. How did they even request this? They'd need your social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name. Stephanie knows all of that. I'm sure she does. Diana's voice was tight. Listen to me. Check your credit report. Right now, all 3 bureaus. Look for anything opened in your name. I pulled up the websites, requested the reports. It took 15 minutes to load. When they did, I felt the air leave my lungs. 2 credit cards. Opened 6 weeks ago. Both maxed out. A personal loan? $15,000. Approved 3 weeks ago. All in my name. All with that P.O. box as the billing address. Diana, I'm here. There's $20,000 in debt I didn't create. She didn't sound surprised. Forward me everything. Screenshots, account numbers. I'm filing an identity theft report with the FTC and notifying the creditors. This is beyond financial abuse now. This is fraud. What do I do? You stay calm. You document everything. And you do not endure any circumstances confront them. They're destroying my credit. They're stealing my identity. I know. And we're going to stop them. But if you confront Stephanie now, she'll know we're building a case. She'll destroy evidence. She'll move faster. How much faster can she move? Diana was quiet for a moment. There's a 72-hour window on that Social Security address change, she said. If you don't deny it, it goes through automatically. That's how long we have. 3 days? 3 days. Then, I'm contacting the police, Adult Protective Services, and we're filing charges. But until then, you have to act like you don't know. I looked at the credit report on my screen. At my name attached to thousands of dollars I never borrowed. I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can, Diana said. Because you're not confused. You're not helpless. And you're not going to let them take one more thing. That night, my phone rang at 11. Unknown number? I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Mrs. Brennan. A man's voice. Calm, familiar. Who is this? We met at the grocery store. I paid for your groceries. My heart stopped. How did you get my number? I need you to listen carefully, he said. Tomorrow, your daughter-in-law is going to ask you to sign something. A power of attorney document. She's going to say it's for emergencies. That it's just a precaution. How do you know that? Because I used to work in elder care fraud investigation. And I've seen this pattern before. Why are you calling me? Because you didn't go inside your house when I told you not to. Which means you're paying attention. And because tomorrow is when they're going to try to finish this. The line was quiet except for my breathing. Don't sign anything, he said. No matter what she says. Then he hung up. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone. And I realized something. I wasn't alone in this. Someone else was watching too. Friday morning, 9:30, I was sitting at the kitchen table when Stephanie's car pulled into the driveway. She wasn't supposed to come today. Thursday was her day. I watched her through the window. She was carrying a folder. My pulse kicked up. I opened the door before she knocked. Smiled. Spinning. I wasn't expecting you. I know. Sorry to just drop by. She stepped inside, folder tucked under her arm. I wanted to talk to you about something important. Okay? We sat at the table. She opened the folder and pulled out a document. Multiple pages. Of looking. So, Mom, Brian and I have been talking. With everything going on your age, the house, finances, we think it's time to set up some protections. What kind of protections? A power of attorney. It just means that if something happens and you can't make decisions, I can handle things for you. Pay bills. Talk to doctors. That kind of thing. She slid the document toward me. It's really common, she said. Most people your age have one. It's just ... smart planning. I looked at the paper. Dense legal language. My name at the top. A signature line at the bottom. Why now? I asked. Well, ... she shifted. You seemed a little confused this week. At the bank. And I know you've been worried about money. This just makes things easier. There it was. Confused. I met her eyes. I wasn't confused at the bank. I was checking my account because of withdrawals I didn't make. Her smile didn't move. Mom, we talked about that. Those were the automatic payments. Remember? I didn't set up any automatic payments. Yes, you did. We did it together. For the home services? Her voice was so patient. So kind. This is why the POA is important. So you don't have to worry about keeping track of everything. I felt my hands start to shake, forced them still. Can I read through this first? I asked. Of course. But there's a notary coming at 11. I scheduled her so you wouldn't have to go anywhere. A notary's coming here. Yeah, makes it easier. She checked her phone. She should be here in about an hour. I looked down at the document. Durable power of attorney. Effective immediately upon signing. That meant the second I signed, Stephanie would have full legal control over everything. My bank accounts, my house, my medical decisions. I'd become invisible. I need to think about this, I said. Her expression tightened. Just for a second. Then the smile came back. Mom, there's nothing to think about. This protects you. Then it can wait a few days. The notary's already on her way. Call her back. Cancel. Stephanie stared at me. The kindness was gone from her eyes. Why are you being difficult about this? I'm not being difficult. I'm being careful. Careful about what? I'm your family. I'm trying to help you. Then help me understand why this is so urgent. She stood up, grabbed the folder. You know what? Fine. I'll reschedule. But Mom, you need to think about what happens if something happens to you and nobody can access your accounts. If you fall, if you get sick, you'd be stuck. I'll take that risk. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Brian's going to be upset, she said. Then tell him to call me. She left without another word. I stood at the window and watched her sit in her car. She was on the phone, animated, angry. Then she pulled out of the driveway fast enough to leave tire marks. I called Diana. She tried to get me to sign a power of attorney. Had a notary scheduled to come here. Did you sign? No. Good. That's the final piece. If she'd gotten that, she'd have legal control over everything. Bank accounts, property, medical decisions. You'd have no recourse. She's going to come back. I know. Which is why we're moving now. I heard papers rustling. I've got the injunction. I've got the fraud report filed with the FTC. And I just got confirmation from the county no quitclaim deed has been filed. They were waiting for the POA first. Why? Because a POA would let her file it on your behalf. As your legal representative, it would look legitimate. My stomach turned. I'm contacting the DA's office this afternoon, Diana said. And I'm requesting a welfare check from Adult Protective Services. They'll come to your house, interview you, verify you're competent. That creates an official record. When? Today. Maybe tomorrow morning. What do I do until then? Stay visible. Stay safe. If Stephanie comes back, do not let her in. If she has a key, I changed the locks. Good. Then she can't get in without you knowing. There was a pause. Mrs. Brennan, you did the hard part. You said no. Now we document everything and let the system work. After we hung up, I sat down and tried to steady my breathing. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Brian. Mom, Stephanie said you're refusing to sign the POA? What's going on? Call me. I stared at the screen. If I called him, he'd try to convince me. He'd use the same words she did. It's for your protection. You're being paranoid. She's just trying to help. But I wasn't paranoid. I was paying attention. I didn't call him back. Instead, I opened the Ring app and checked the camera feed. A car was parked across the street. Sedan. Tinted windows. It had been there for 20 minutes. I watched. Waited. The driver's door opened. A woman got out. Mid-40s business clothes. Carrying a leather bag. She walked up my driveway and knocked. I opened the door. Mrs. Brennan. I'm Andrea Coles. I'm a notary. I believe there was a scheduling confusion earlier, but I'm here now if you're ready to finalize those documents. I looked past her at the car, at Stephanie sitting in the passenger seat, watching. I didn't schedule a notary, I said. Andrea smiled. Professional? Practiced. Your daughter-in-law arranged it. For the power of attorney paperwork. I'm not signing anything today. Her smile faltered. Ma'am, I've already driven out here. If there's a concern about the documents, I can review them with you. I don't need them reviewed. I'm not signing. She glanced back at the car, then at me. Are you sure you understand what you're refusing? Yes. Because once you're incapacitated, it's too late to put protections in place. I'm not incapacitated. Of course not. Her voice softened, patronizing. But at your age, things can change quickly. I looked at her, really looked at her. How much is she paying you? Andrea's face went blank. I'm sorry. To come here and pressure me into signing away my rights? How much? She stepped back. I'm a licensed notary. I don't appreciate the accusation, and I don't appreciate being ambushed in my own home. I closed the door, locked it. Through the window, I watched Andrea walk back to the car, watched her and Stephanie talk, watched Stephanie's hands move sharp, frustrated. Then they left, and I stood there, shaking, knowing I'd just made things worse. They weren't going to stop. They were going to escalate. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up to 12 missed calls, all from Brian. I made coffee, sat at the table, called him back. He answered immediately. Mom, what the hell is going on? Good morning to you too. Don't, he stopped, took a breath. Stephanie's in tears. She says you accused her of stealing, that you're refusing help, that you threw a notary out of the house. I didn't throw anyone out. I said no. To what? To signing a power of attorney I don't need. Mom, it's not about need. It's about being prepared. What if something happens to you? Then I'll deal with it. You can't deal with it if you're unconscious in a hospital. Brian, has Stephanie told you about the withdrawals from my bank account? The ones I didn't make? Silence. What withdrawals? Every Thursday for 3 months. Small amounts. Always when she was at my house. He laughed. Hard and bitter. That's insane. You really think Stephanie's stealing from you? I don't think. I know. Based on what? Based on bank records. Based on transactions I didn't authorize. Based on a quitclaim deed with my forged signature trying to transfer my house into her name. The line went quiet. Mom? His voice changed. Softer. Careful. Have you talked to your doctor recently? And there it was. Don't do that, I said. Do what? Treat me like I'm confused? Like I'm imagining things. I'm not. I'm asking if you've been feeling okay. Because this doesn't sound like you. You're right. It doesn't. Because I've spent 60 years being polite and not making waves and trusting people who tell me they're helping. I'm done with that. Mom, your wife has been stealing from me. She forged documents. She tried to take my house. And now she's convinced you that I'm the problem. She's not, she wouldn't. He stopped. I could hear him breathing. I need to talk to her. Good. Ask her about the automatic payment to Home Services LLC. Ask her about the credit cards opened in my name. Ask her about the P.O. box where all my statements were supposed to be rerouted. I don't believe this. I know. That's why she picked you. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking again. At noon, Diana called. Adult Protective Services is coming to interview you Monday morning. 9 a.m. They'll assess your mental capacity, check your living situation, review your concerns. This creates an official record. What happens after that? Depends on what they find. But combined with the bank fraud, the forged deed, the identity theft will have enough for criminal charges. Against Stephanie. Yes. I closed my eyes. She's my daughter-in-law. Brian's wife. My grandson's mother. I know. This is going to destroy my family. Diana was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Brennan, your family was destroyed the moment she decided you were an easy target. You're just the first one brave enough to say it out loud. That afternoon, my doorbell rang. I checked the Ring camera first. Brian? I opened the door. He looked terrible. like he hadn't slept. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. We sat in the living room. He didn't look at me. "I called the bank," he said finally. "Talked to the manager. He confirmed there were unauthorized withdrawals, and that someone tried to add Stephanie as an authorized user on your account." I didn't say anything. "I also called the credit card companies. There are 2 cards in your name. You didn't open them." "No." He put his head in his hands. "She said it was for household expenses. That you'd agreed. That you just forgot." "I didn't forget. I know." His voice cracked. I looked at the statements. "The charges aren't household expenses. It's shopping. Restaurants. A trip to Miami I didn't even know about. I watched my son fall apart." "I asked her about the deed," he said. "The quitclaim. She said it was your idea. That you wanted to make sure the house stayed in the family if anything happened. Did you believe her?" "I wanted to." He looked up at me, eyes red. "But then I found the paperwork. In her car. The POA you wouldn't sign. There were notes in the margins. About timelines. About what she could do once it was finalized." "What kind of notes? Transfer property? Close accounts? Access life insurance?" He swallowed. "Mom, she was planning to put you in a nursing home." The words hung there. "There's a brochure," he said, "for a memory care facility in Pennsylvania." She'd already scheduled a tour. I felt cold. "She told me you were getting confused," Brian said. "That you were forgetting things. Mixing up dates. She said you needed help. Real help." And I believed her. She's convincing. She's my wife. I'm supposed to believe her. He stood up, started pacing. "How long has this been going on? Months? Maybe longer. And I didn't see it. She didn't want you to." He stopped, looked at me. "What do you need me to do?" "I need you to tell the truth. When the investigators come, when the police come, I need you to tell them what you found. She's going to say I'm lying. That we're both lying. Let her." He nodded slowly. "There's something else. I checked our joint account. The one Stephanie and I share. There's $30,000 missing." I stared at him. "She moved it 2 days ago," he said, "to an account I've never seen before. When I asked her about it, she said it was savings. But I can't access it. Only she can. She's covering her tracks. Or she's running." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Bank flagged large withdrawal attempt on your account. Denied due to freeze. Stephanie Brennan tried to pull $12,000 this morning. Aaron Campos." I showed Brian the text. His face went gray. "She tried this morning. She knows I'm not signing the POA. She's trying to take what she can before the system catches up." He sat down, buried his face in his hands. "I have to file for divorce." "I know. And you have to press charges." "I know." We sat there in silence. Then he said, "I'm sorry, Mom." "For what?" "For not seeing it. For not believing you. For bringing her into this family." I reached over, took his hand. "You didn't know?" I said. "She's good at this. That's what scares me." He looked at me. "How many other people has she done this to?" I didn't have an answer, but I was starting to think we weren't the first. Monday morning, 9 a.m., the woman from Adult Protective Services sat across from me at my kitchen table. Her name was Lauren. She was thorough and kind, and she didn't treat me like I was fragile. She asked about my daily routine, my medications, my finances, whether I felt safe. I told her everything. She took notes, reviewed the documents Diana had sent over, looked at the bank statements, the credit reports, the forged deed. When she finished, she closed her folder. "Mrs. Brennan, I want to be very clear with you. Based on this interview and the evidence provided, I'm filing a report for financial exploitation and attempted fraud. You are cognitively sound. You are capable of managing your own affairs. And you have been the victim of a calculated, long-term abuse." The relief hit me so hard I almost cried. "What happens now?" I asked. The district attorney's office will review the case. Given the documentation, the forged signatures, the identity theft, the unauthorized transactions, I expect criminal charges will be filed within the week. Against Stephanie? Yes. And possibly others if we find she had a place us. Lauren leaned forward. I know this is your family. I know that makes it harder. But you did the right thing. After she left, I sat in the quiet house and let myself breathe. 3 days later, Diana called. The DA's filing charges? Forgery, identity theft, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Stephanie was arrested this morning. I closed my eyes. Your son? He's cooperating. Gave a statement. Turned over the documents he found. He's filing for divorce and emergency custody. And my accounts? Fully restored. The fraudulent charges have been disputed and removed. The quitclaim deed has been officially voided. And I've put protective orders in place. No one can make changes to your accounts, property, or legal documents without your physical presence and 2 forms of ID. So it's over. The legal part, yes. The rest, ... double quotes. Diana paused. That takes longer. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the bank. An apology? Formal? Corporate. They acknowledged the internal notes that labeled me as confused. They acknowledged that their systems failed to flag the pattern of abuse. They were updating their training. It didn't undo what happened, but it was something. Brian came by on a Saturday, brought my grandson, Ethan, 7 years old, bright-eyed. We made cookies. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and butter and something normal. Grandma, Ethan said, Dad says we're going to live in a new house. That's right. Will you come visit? Every week? Brian met my eyes across the kitchen. He looked older now, tired in a way that wouldn't fade quickly. I should have listened sooner, he said. You listened when it mattered. I keep thinking about what would have happened if you'd signed that POA, but I didn't. Because some guy at a grocery store told you not to go inside your house. He shook his head. Who was he? How did he know? I'd wondered the same thing. I'd tried calling the number he'd used to contact me. Disconnected. I'd asked Aaron at the bank if he knew anything. He didn't. Whoever he was, he'd seen something, noticed something, and instead of ignoring it, he'd acted. Maybe he'd been through it himself. Maybe he'd watched someone else go through it. Or maybe he just knew what people like Stephanie looked like when they thought no one was watching. I don't know who he was, I said, but I'm grateful. A month later, I was at the grocery store. Different day. Different time. I was in the produce section when I saw him. The man from before. Same work jacket. Same quiet presence. He was picking out apples. Didn't see me at first. I walked over. Excuse me? He looked up. Recognized me immediately. Mrs. Brennan. I never got to thank you, I said, for what you did, for warning me. He set the apple down. You don't need to thank me. How did you know? He was quiet for a moment. Then, I used to investigate financial elder abuse. For the state, I've seen it enough times to recognize the signs. What signs? The way your daughter-in-law watched you at the register. The way she didn't step in to help when your card was declined. She wanted you embarrassed. Wanted you to feel small. He paused. People who exploit family members need their victims isolated and doubting themselves. She was setting that up in public. You saw all that in 30 seconds. I've been doing this a long time. Why did you get involved? Because no one should have to go through that alone. He picked up his apple again. And because last time I didn't say anything, the woman lost everything. I wasn't going to let that happen again. I felt my throat tighten. Well, I said, you saved me. No, ma'am. You saved yourself. I just gave you a reason to pay attention. He nodded once and walked away. I stood there in the produce section, holding a bag of oranges, and realized something. I wasn't small anymore. I wasn't confused or helpless or easy to erase. I was still here, still standing, still mine. That night, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea and watched the sun set over my neighborhood, my house, my name on the deed, my locks, my life. I thought about everything that almost happened, everything I almost lost. And I thought about the moment I chose to believe myself instead of the people telling me I was wrong. That's the moment that changed everything. Not the evidence, not the lawyers, not even the stranger at the grocery store. It was me, deciding I was worth fighting for. The porch light came on automatically. The one I controlled, the one I'd programmed myself. I took a sip of tea, and I smiled, because I'd kept the receipts. And I'd stayed quiet. Until I didn't. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and if you've ever lived through something like this.